Time of the End Timeline Study, Part 3. In parts 1 and 2 of our study, we learned that the time of the end will last less than 70 or 80 years, that the 7 seals of Revelation span the time of the end, and that the time of the end began on 9/11/2001. In part 2, we covered how the first seal of Revelation was fulfilled by the historical events that followed 9/11. Now we will look into the future to see the events that may fulfill the next 3 seals of Revelation. Behind the first seal was the white horse, which was assigned to the west. Behind the second seal is the red horse, which was assigned to the east. The red arrow points to Iran, east of Israel. Why Iran and not some other country? To understand this, we must first realize that end-time Babylon is the United States of America. In this prophecy, we see that Yahweh says he is using the Iranian leaders in his purpose to destroy Babylon. Yahweh has stirred up the kings of the Medes because his purpose is to destroy Babylon. In the next verse, Yahweh says, reinforce the guard, station a watchman, prepare an ambush. The Iranians will ambush the USA. When we combine this prophecy with the second seal prophecy, we see that the ambush seems to turn into a great battle. In Revelation 6, we see the rider was given power to take peace from the earth and make men slay each other. To him was given a great battle. This is the rider on the red horse. After the second seal is opened, the Bible describes other things that will happen before the third seal is opened. The U.S. president will no longer be popular. He will become very unpopular. Habakkuk says this about the U.S. president. He is puffed up. His desires are not upright. Wine betrays him. He is arrogant and never at rest. Because he is greedy and never satisfied, he gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the peoples. Will not all of them taunt him with ridicule and scorn? After the second seal is open, the U.S. economy will crash. Habakkuk also says this, your creditors will suddenly arise. They will wake up and make you tremble. Then you will become their victim, because you have plundered many nations. The peoples who are left will plunder you. Before the third seal, 10 Middle East nations will join together. Daniel says a fourth kingdom will appear on earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms, and it will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. Before the third seal, the Antichrist will rise from this Middle Eastern kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress the saints. After the second seal crisis and the rise of the Middle East kingdom of the Antichrist, Christ will open the third seal and the black horse will come out. At the third seal crisis, this will happen. When the Lamb opened the third seal, there was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales, a quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages. Do not damage the oil and the wine. From the north of Israel, the black horse, Russia, damages wheat and barley. A leader in his army from the north will damage wheat and barley, so that wheat and barley will become very expensive. Russia will damage U.S. and Canadian wheat and barley production. U.S. and Canadian wheat and barley accounts for 54% of world exports. Note, Yahweh has warned his people many times in prophecy that they must come out of Babylon and the land of the Babylonians before the third seal crisis. Let's take a look at just a few of his warnings. In Revelation 18, it says, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not receive any of her plagues. For her sins are piled up to heaven. God has remembered her crimes." In Jeremiah 50, "Flee out of Babylon, leave the land of the Babylonians, and be like the shepherds that lead the flock. For I will stir up and bring against Babylon an alliance of great nations from the land of the north." Jeremiah 51, "I will punish Bel in Babylon and make him spew out what he has swallowed. The nations will no longer stream to him, and the wall of Babylon will fall. Come out of her, my people. Run for your lives. Run from the fierce anger of Yahweh. Leave Babylon. Flee from the Babylonians. Announce this with shouts of joy and proclaim it. Send it out to the ends of the earth. Come, flee from the land of the north, declares Yahweh, for I will scatter you to the four winds. Come, O Zion, escape, you who live in the daughter of Babylon. Yahweh has warned his people many times that they must leave Babylon and the land of the Babylonians before he opens the third seal of Revelation. Yahweh also tells his people in Jeremiah 50 and 51 where they must go. After the third seal and the destruction of Babylon and the land of the Babylonians, Antichrist will be consolidating his power, which will include the defeat of many countries to the south of Israel, as we can see in our map of the four colored horses. The pale horse goes to the south. At the time of the end, the king of the south, Egypt, will engage the Antichrist in battle, and the king of the north will storm out against him with chariots and a cavalry and a great fleet of ships. He will invade many countries and sweep through them like a flood. He will extend his power over many countries. Egypt will not escape. Revelation 6. When the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I looked, and there before me was a pale horse, and its rider named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, plague, and by wild beasts. Again, the pale horse goes to the south of Israel. In part 4, we will examine what happens after the first four seals as the beast from the Middle East, the Antichrist, consolidates his worldwide power.